Hi, everybody. Dr. Nikita Vizniak here with the amazing.
Dr. Catherine Chung.
And today we are going to be going through fasting and intermittent fasting. Probably one of
hmm
our favorite topics actually to talk about. Dr. Chung, how do you use this in practice?
I use it in small scale, and it's a great way to kind of do more of a reset and a way to kind of spark metabolism for a lot of my patients, especially ones where it's like, you know what, I'm having trouble. Like I've tried all these different things, and my metabolism just doesn't seem to be keeping up with what I want it to do.
Hmm.
And I find that fasting is a great way to really like spark it and just get a nice little start to your journey.
Nice. Excellent. So, of course, all this information is coming from our evidence-informed nutrition books. 3 steps to feeling better. You can do it. We can help. And Dr. Chung is a major contributor for this. And we're going to go talking about fasting today, which is on page 83. Through the diets here. Yeah, click us through. All right, so a couple of different things. When you look at fasting, there are literally 1,001 resources available on this. Maybe you can talk us through 3 main types of intermittent fasting.
Yep. So there's intermittent fasting where you're alternating days. So one day you're fasting and then the next day you're not. And that can be an iteration of just some of my patients, they'll do, say, 3 days of fasting and then they'll eat for 4 days of the week. So that it could be alternating in whatever days that you want.
Mhm.
There's periodic intermittent fasting. So that's kind of what I talked about, where it's like 2 days off, 5 days on. And then there's within the day, so time-based fasting. So that's the normal one or the most common one you'll hear, where you're fasting for 16 hours of the day and then you're eating for 8 hours of the day.
Yeah. And so one of the things people need to realize, we've tried most of the diets in this book. When you do fasting, when I do fasting, that first meal you eat after the fast, it is glorious. You just love every molecule of food that you put in your mouth, right?
Yes, that's why you have to always be careful in which food you choose to break your
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, absolutely. All right. All right. So we know the body runs on 2 main fuel sources. Glucose is the primary one, and fatty acids that are broken down. This gets a little bit heavy. If you're more interested in the fatty acid transport, we can come back to that. But the main thing for us to realize is a calorie restricted diet or intermittent fasting has been shown in numerous studies in rats and other animals, and mice and other animals, to prolong life expectancy. You will live longer and likely even be more active in your life through intermittent fasting. I don't know if there's anything you want to add here, Dr. Chung, on this.
No, and it's just naturally how it is because of the oxidative stress that you're no longer putting on your body. And at the end of the day, that's the thing that gives you most of the longevity around things, right?
Absolutely. And if we get back to it, how we evolved as humans, do you think food was everywhere you were and you could just get food at any one time? So this is a natural evolutionary diet that we would have really had, where you would have had to run for resources or walk and find different resources, where there would have been times of starvation and lack of food available. A lot of religions have fasting periods that go through this process as well. And you see benefits from it that way in those people who are going through that in their own diets.
Mhm.
Again, evolutionarily speaking, always having food available, always being able to eat, probably not really a natural state for most humans, right?
100%. And I think even going back to that, and there's the faith-based stuff, but also just evolutionary how we are. It kind of when you're not no longer emotion putting an emotion to
Mm.
eating, it
Hmm.
also really does have a positive impact in your mindfulness around how your body is feeling as well, right? And that's why there's such a positive impact in mood, in sleep, and quality of sleep, and sexual function as well, as we see in that bottom right hand corner there. It's just it links you back to your body the way that you wouldn't expect it to.
Yeah. So we'll go back into kind of your practice here a little bit. So therapeutic uses, looking at metabolic syndromes, obesity, insulin resistance,
Mhm.
dyslipidemia, hypertension, and inflammation. Dr. Chung, I know this is your wheelhouse. Tell us more.
Well, it just well naturally. I mean, we've talked about this before, right? Where you're calorically low in the intermittent fasting. So when you decide to break your fast and when you're eating, then you really choose and you're very careful on what how you're going to fill those calories. That naturally will help with a lot of the weight loss goals or your cardiovascular goals or even your blood sugar goals as
Hmm.
well, right?
Yep.
And then the very act of fasting means that your body has to find other things, other stores in your body to actually break down for that energy to fuel the rest of your life. And that's where the adipose tissue, the fat that you carry, will come into play. Your body has to get it from somewhere, and that's where it's going to break it down. That's why it's so great for metabolic syndrome, because it makes your body be a little bit more creative and inventive on where they're going to fuel your body.
Yeah, exactly. And there's good research talking about this, how your body needs this fasting time frame to actually reset, to increase antioxidant levels, to get rid of any, cells that maybe aren't functioning quite as well. Like, it is kind of a cleaning house session for your entire body when you go on intermittent fast. And the other thing that people don't realize, even I mentioned this at the start of the video, improving physical performance, right? There's good research here that talks about physical performance increasing, young men losing fat but maintaining muscle mass during 2 months of resistance training is one of our articles that we can look right here. And even for myself, like even right now, at the time we are recording this, I am going through an intermittent fast right now. I feel more energized. We see it in mice as well. They are more energized and more active going on these intermittent fasts, and they have improved cognitive performance. You will see things more clearly. You'll be able to function more rapidly and get more done with your time.
Yes, agreed. I've been intermittent fasting for, well, I naturally do, but I've been doing it for a very long time. And I agree. Like once I like morning time, and then I don't break my fast until probably 2 p.m., 3 p.m. And I'm like, you're very focused. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And then like we said, that first meal, you're just like, oh my gosh, that is so good. All right. Yeah. And then if we move on here, another big one that a lot of people forget to realize with this improved mood, quality, just like Dr. Chung was saying, sleep and sexual function also associated with this calorie restriction diet. I don't know if there's anything else we want to add on that. We give a sample of what a plate might look like here. And then, of course, looking at that 16-hour fast. Okay.
Well, and that's important to bring up as well, because at the beginning we were talking about the three different approaches to intermittent fasting and what it really means. Where the last one, the daily time restricted feeding, the 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating, is the most popular one. A lot of the time when I'm talking to patients, the reason why they try the 16 to 8 and they aren't very successful at it. And the reason for that is because you can't go from 0 to 100 on fasting. It's really hard on the body, and it's also really hard mentally as well. And that's one of the risks that I wanted to point out, is that there's not really a one way to approach anything in life really, but fasting specifically. If you're used to eating all day every day, imagine going from that to like not eating for 16 hours. That's a crazy intense for anyone, and that's where you'll feel lightheaded. You've trained your body to expect food, calories, sugar at specific times of the day. So what I tell my patients and the students or the clinicians that I train is, we have to meet the patient where they're at first, and then slowly bring it back, right? So you can start with, even if they're like, you know what, let's have a 2 or 3 hour window before you eat the next time. If they're a grazer and they're just eating all the time, right? If they're doing like 3 meals a day and they're that type of patient, then maybe just being like, okay, while you're sleeping, don't eat first thing in the morning. Maybe delay that a little bit, and then you can get closer to that 12 hour instead, and
Yeah.
then slowly make your way to the 16 and 8.
And that's really where I feel like your approach is really establishing you as the expert, Dr. Chung. Like, you are so good at that, making sure to meet the patient where they are and facilitate their individualized needs, right? Versus I think a lot of people reading this content are like looking at it, well, I've got to do this, and this is the only way that it can be done. No, there's the variety of life that we can go ahead and modify specifically for you, as long as we stick to this diet somewhat, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know what, like your body will always tell you what it wants. I've had patients where they get to 16 and 8 and they're like, you know what, I'm not feeling very good on it. I don't feel nourished. I don't feel as energized as I did when I was doing the 12 and 12, or the 14 and whatever that other number is, 6. So, or 14 and 10, sorry. So it really depends. You just have to listen to your body, listen to your patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are the risks associated with this diet? Like, what should we be aware of here for our patients? One of the key things to watch out, of course, is taking it too far, excessive calorie restriction, going into anorexia and other issues. But what else?
Also, if your anorexia stuff like you're saying, but also if you're like pregnant, or if
Mhm.
you're, there isn't any research saying that it's completely unsafe, but it's something you want to consider or really check in as well, right? So it depends on what physically your body is going through as well. If
Mhm.
there are certain conditions that require you to eat a little bit more consistently, or have a certain number of calorie intake.
Mhm. All right, excellent. Good to know all this stuff. Here's a graphic that we've created that actually shows you all of the benefits, not all, but many of the benefits of fasting and health. And fasting has been used for millennia. It has been used in all of human history as a potential treatment option that we should be aware of. And on this graphic specifically, though, Dr. Chung, is there anything you'd like to point out?
On this graphic here, I think the most important one is the insulin production, so the pancreas
Mhm.
insulin production, and that's why this approach tends to work so well for people with diabetes and type 2 diabetes specifically, especially when they're growing into insulin resistance. And it's
Mhm.
just because it has such an impact on reducing the insulin production, right? It's a myth that fasting and diabetes don't go hand in hand. There's a fear around that because of the whole blood sugar regulation bit.
Mhm.
But based on the research, it does show that there is a positive impact specifically on insulin sensitivity. You'll see on the left side under liver, there's an increase in insulin sensitivity, but then there will be a decrease in insulin production. So it's a nice balance between the two where you're more sensitive, meaning that you step away from the type 2 diabetes picture
Yeah.
of the insulin insensitivity.
And with the appropriate diet and lifestyle changes, there is huge potential to actually reverse or eliminate type 2 diabetes just through those two processes alone. You do not need expensive medications and all of the other things that are associated with it.
Oops, yeah.
All right. Okay, here's some great quotes that I like around this diet right here. So he who eats until he is sick must fast until he is well. This is an older one that's been out for a while. And I love this one from a German proverb here. Fasting today makes the food good tomorrow. Absolutely, positively. And you can look through the rest of them right there. Any closing
Yeah.
remarks that you would give the amazing Dr. Chung on this diet approach?
I would say this diet approach, slow and steady wins the race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you can't go cold
Yeah.
turkey with it. Exactly what you're saying. You gave excellent feedback for coaching and everything there. I practice this. You practice this. We know thousands of other doctors and therapists who practice this as well. So excellent stuff. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Dr. Chung, and we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.